Good evening. I'm Nick, and I'm going to be doing a quick demonstration of how our tunnels and tubes modular terrain system goes together. This is a prototype kit. Obviously, we'll be doing production versions if our Kickstarter is successful, but here's the kit. Three parts to this. The first one is the support sheet. So these are all themed, just basic themes. We want you to be inspired and make it your own. But this one we class as a sci-fi one with the slots in there, my personal favourite. So next are the walkway sections. Now these sheets are specific to the length of a tunnel section that you're making. So this one is a 75mm long one. This one is the 150. You can see the product code in the top corners. That's Sci-Fi Floor 150, and that's the 300mm long lengths. So that's ideal for the side of rooms and such like, but they're multi-use. So I'm going to be going for the middle of the road, which is the 150. So the next part are those lovely curved walls. Again, these are prototypes. The final ones will be a lot tighter detail-wise, but this is just a proof of concept for Kickstarter. That's partly why we need to raise the funds for the tooling. So I'm going to start with the first support sheet. The supports are actually an L shape, pretty much. And the best way to get these out of the frame is start at the very top. There's a little tab there, so I'm just going to pop that through. Then at the other far end, and then one in the middle, and it just rolls out. Simple as that. I'm sure you don't want to watch me pop 12 of these out, so I'll pop this to the side, and we've got some that have been popped out of the frames. The next sheet is the walkways. So we need to just run a blade across the tabs on the top there, because there's some detail that's engraved detail that's quite close to the edge there. So then I'm just going to very carefully flex these out. You'll notice there are some quite small parts to the ends of these walkways. They're part of the assembly, unfortunately, but if you're careful, you've got a bit of experience with making these kits, it's not a problem at all. So that pops out there. The observant people there will notice a little bit of wood was left on there. These are just prototypes. We will be using production equipment to manufacture the final kits. So just popping out support frames. So each one of these sheets for the 150 length has enough for 4 150mm long sections. So I only actually need 2 of these supports, one for the lower span and one for the upper wall. But I'm going to free them all out anyway. As I say, I only actually need 2 of these. So I'll pop them down there, and then for some reason I'll unnecessarily fettle with these other parts. There we go. Okay, so we've got the 2 here. We only actually need 3 of the supports per 150mm walkway, so pop the others out of the way there. Next thing I'm going to do is find an area where the 2 connect. And I'm just going to put one piece up to another just to see what the tolerances are there. So that's a little bit snug. So I'm just going to file this out. I'd like to use an emery board. Just a couple of swipes on each side is enough. Unfortunately, the MDF comes in quite a broad tolerance, shall we say. If you're familiar with making MDF kits, you know exactly what I mean. This is out of our control. So, but I like the kits to go together nice and snug. So we've made the tolerance for the thinnest end of the spectrum a tiny little bit more, and they fit together very easily no matter which wood we've used. We've actually tested a lot of sheets of wood. We have been making these for quite some time. So with the spans, these are quite fragile, so you see I'm just supporting those, the finger either side, while I'm sanding these. But again, it doesn't take an awful lot. We're literally just knocking the edge off of those. And there we go. Then we're ready to start assembly. So the two spans, the wider one actually fits at the bottom of the support. The thinner one's the support for the top of the walls. So I'm going to start with the lower span. So I'll locate these up, make sure that they're at right angles to each other, and then just pop that down into position. So just finger pressure, just put it on a flat surface, just make sure everything's absolutely down. There we go, I'm just popping into position there. And that's the lower span in. Next, the top one, which is one of the fiddliest parts. These are quite fragile, but these aren't aimed at amateurs or beginners. These are aimed at people who are more familiar with assembling this sort of kit. So I'm just lining that up there. Make sure everything's in the right position, and then a little squeeze, and then that pops in there. We're not going to glue, if I was gluing it, I'm not going to glue the top rail yet. That actually is part of the support for the walls, and will need slight adjustment. But here's one that I've assembled. I've not actually glued this. This is just pushed together, but I've given it a quick lick of paint just so you can see a finished product at the end of this. The walkway, I noticed that I nipped away to paint that earlier. I've gone for a satin white because all the best sci-fi shows had nice white shiny floors. So that I just line up. First of all, I'm going to line it up just back away from the supports, just so I can get it down and flat. So that's in position. Then I just push the supports forwards and they lock into position there. One final push to make sure everything's nice and square, and there's our frame. So next are those lovely curved walls. So the sheets come oversized, so you will need to trim them. That's partly to stop them being damaged in transit. Obviously, when you trim them, don't hold them, Nick. Put it on a firm surface and cut it. So just running a blade along the sharp corner, which is formed into it, and it'll snap out, or you can just use a sharp pair of scissors, whichever you're more comfortable with. Anyone familiar with working with plastic art, model makers, you'll be very familiar with all this. So here's one I've cut already. I used the walkways as a guide as well, and this is the bit most people have been asking about, how the walls actually fit in there. So it's a little bit of a fiddly process at first, but it's quite simple. So first of all, slide it through the slot in the uprights. These first two are possibly the most fiddly, but once it's pushed into a bit of a curvature, it soon slides through there. This last one should be easy. Let's see how it goes. Not too bad. So we're just going to center that up a little bit there. Managed to push it through a little bit too far. Okay, so the wall's now in the frame, but it's not in its final position. So I'm just going to back that top frame support a little bit, because that actually clamps onto the wall. So what I'm doing here is, with my right hand, I'm just lightly pushing the wall from the back upwards, and then popping the front lip over that top support rail. And there we go. We're done. unassembled walkway. If you like what you see, please come and support us. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.